Hi guys, I'm Alex, and hopefully that some of this information will be pretty helpful to you. Just to give you a little bit about my background, currently I work at Chick-fil-A in West Jordan here at the Jordan Landing. I've worked there for about 6 years, four of which I was a police officer. Um, as far as my career, I've had about 10 different jobs, give or take. I've probably interviewed well over 100 people, maybe a couple hundred people. I've been in probably pretty close to 100 interviews myself. I've interviewed for jobs that pay minimum wage when I was younger, all the way up to jobs that have paid 90,000 to several $100,000 a year. So I've got a pretty diverse experience with interviewing and both giving the interview and receiving the interview. Currently, I run the Jordan Landing location at night, and I'm also in the process to own my own Chick-fil-A. To give you an idea of that process, I've already been in about 10 interviews, both over the phone, video. We also do pre-recorded, kind of like what I'm having to do here, where I have to record my answers to it. So there's lots of different types of interviews. I haven't done these, but there are group interviews as well. But a lot of the things we're going to talk about today are pretty much along the same kind of lines. But um, I hope that that kind of gives you an idea of where I'm coming from and where my experience is. And then I've got a couple questions here that I was asked to answer to help you guys as you prepare. First of all, a common one is about resumes and what should be on a resume. A lot of that's going to depend on what type of job you're looking for. Um, I'll be honest, I don't know that I've had maybe one or two people that have come into our Chick-fil-A with a resume. I'll tell you that if because most don't have one, if you show up with one, it's going to set you apart right away. Um, the resume is an opportunity for you to kind of brag. I don't know. None of the companies that I've really worked for have required it as like the reason they hire you. But there are some companies that they look at their resume before they bring you in. So kind of get to know the company you're interviewing for and what they're looking for. A lot of entry level jobs may look at it, may not. I know for our store, generally we're looking at the application and seeing what's available, uh, and who's applying, what their schedule is like, those kind of things. But if you bring a resume to the interview and you're able to talk about the things that are on it, talk about your skills, your experiences. When I was younger, my resume had, the teams that I was the captain of, the positions I held in student government. As I get older, those things fall off and new roles go on there. So use it to highlight your career. If this is your first job, it's still okay to make a resume and put your skills on there. What are you able to do? What do you bring to the table? What are your strengths? Those kind of things. One quick little point of reference I would say is look at your email address when you're applying. That usually ends up on job applications, it ends up on your resume, it ends up pretty much everywhere. Um, if your email address isn't professional, now would be a good time while you're still younger to change it. Um, get it to be something that you could still use because many of us still use our same email address throughout most of our life until we get too much junk mail anyway. Um, change it to something that you could see using now as you apply for a job, that you wouldn't be embarrassed 10 years from now when you go to apply for a job. That way you can keep that same email going and keep things linked to it. And it doesn't have things that are not work appropriate in it, because that's a good way to just raise red flags right off the bat. The next question I was asked is what to wear to an interview. Um, this one's kind of interesting. It definitely goes based on where you're going to apply, and the job you're going to is going to dictate that a little bit. But you're never going to go wrong with, for guys wearing like a shirt and tie, a suit would be better. Um, women wearing a suit, a blouse, a skirt, dress, dress nice. Given the setting, obviously, of our conversation, for the most part, if you dress like you're going to church, you're probably going to outperform the rest of the crowd, especially for entry level jobs. I would never show up to a Chick-fil-A interview looking to get the keys to a multi-million-dollar restaurant. Um, I would never show up to that in anything less than a suit and tie. Um, Are there, there's people that come to Chick-fil-A now to apply for an entry level job. They're wearing t-shirt, they're wearing jeans, they're wearing polos. Does that rule them out immediately? No, but it also shows that they aren't putting in really any effort to do anything with this job. So if you put in a little effort, it goes a long way. It shows that you're serious about getting the job. And if I don't think you're going to put effort into the interview, why do I think you're going to put effort into the job? So kind of set that tone right away. The next question I was asked is, what do you look for in kids that we're interviewing or young people that I'm interviewing? At Chick-fil-A specifically, we have the core four. That's a thing that we teach all of our new employees. The core four are to have eye contact, to have a smile, to speak in an enthusiastic tone, and to say "my pleasure." If somebody comes in, generally they're able to have the first three, right? Most of you guys don't probably walk around saying "my pleasure" to everything, but the first three you can have that before you go into the interview. If I'm looking at you as we're talking, are you making eye contact with me, or are you looking around? Heaven forbid, are you looking at your phone? Don't do that, please. Are you smiling, or are you just kind of there? Are you enthusiastic about it? Something I do to try to see if you have the capability to be enthusiastic is I'll just ask you to talk about something you love. What do you like to do? And if I can find kind of that thing that you like to do, whether it's cars or sports or whatever, uh, usually we can talk pretty enthusiastically about something that we really love. And so if we can kind of see, all right, this is the thing that the candidate says is their big hobby or the big thing that they like to do, and they aren't enthusiastic about it, um, you're going to have a hard time being enthusiastic about refilling drinks or taking somebody's order if you can't be enthusiastic about your favorite hobby. So kind of being enthusiastic and talking with a smile. Um, you can it's kind of strange, but I mean, you guys have talked on the phone before. You can tell if somebody's smiling when they're talking to you on the phone, or are they just kind of there, or are they upset? You can tell all those things just through conversation. Smile, make eye contact. It's okay to be nervous. We're all nervous in interviews. I mean, all the interviews I've been in, I'm still nervous about it. Um, Also, I'm looking for, are you on time? Are you ready when the interview's ready, or are you late? If you're not going to be on time to the interview, why do I think you're going to be on time to work? Also, what if I'm late to the interview? You're on time, they sit you in the dining room, you're waiting for the interview to start, and I get taken off to go do something that I've got to handle. How do you handle that? Are you impatient? Are you frustrated with that process? Um, the reality is, and especially in the hospitality business, that we've got to pay attention to those kind of things. And sometimes management has to step away and handle a more pressing issue first. That doesn't mean you're not important or that we don't want to be there, but just be aware. Even in like professional interviews, I would never do it intentionally for an entry level job, but as you get higher up into kind of the corporate world, some of these places and some of these interviewers will intentionally be late just to see how you handle that. So kind of think about that. The other thing I look for is, did you prepare for the interview? If I ask you basic questions, things along the lines of, um, tell me about yourself, and you've got no answer. Things about, why do you want to work here? What do you know about this company? If I'm asking you, what do you know about Chick-fil-A? Why do you want to work at Chick-fil-A? Um, and you don't have, you've got nothing. That kind of raises a little bit of red flag. Again, it's, did you put any effort into this, or did you expect to walk in and just be handed a job? Because Chick-fil-A isn't the same as those of you who go and attend or come and are customers of our store. We don't do things the same way that most fast food restaurants do. There's a higher level of service, and we're also a higher level or a higher volume level. And so we need people that are gonna put in effort, that are gonna work. Um, and if you can do those things, then we, obviously we take care of you and make sure that you're rewarded for those kind of things. So put in some effort. The more advanced the job, the more effort that's probably going to take. For an entry level job, know a couple things. You don't have to spend tons of time here, but know the company, know basic things about the company. A quick Google search 10 minutes before your interview will give you some of that information, enough to put you that next step ahead of the person who comes in jeans and a t-shirt with no resume and has no information. And when I ask them to tell me about themselves or their hobbies or the things they like, they don't have anything, um, it's okay to share those things about you, but be prepared for it. What I do now that I'm interviewing for more advanced jobs is I actually have a coach who I've hired, and I meet with weekly leading up to an interview, and we do 1 hour practice interviews. The interviews for Chick-fil-A to become a franchisee, and as you get more advanced, interviews obviously get longer. My interviews at the store level, 10 to 15 minutes. My interviews as I'm being the candidate for Chick-fil-A, they're 2 to 3 hours long. And so I do practice interviews and I practice different questions. Am I going to get all the same questions that they ask me? Probably not. But I can practice my delivery, make sure that I'm doing the things that I need to do in that conversation. So just make sure you practice. That would go a long way. If you seem ready to go, that stands out definitely among the crowd. And finally, what do you look for in a good employee was the last question that I was asked. The big thing with especially entry level jobs, teenagers, high schoolers, um, be willing to learn. Uh, Everybody comes from different backgrounds, different skill levels, different education levels. Be willing to learn the way that a company does things and be willing to make mistakes and then accept responsibility for them and then learn from them. I work with kids all day long, 16, 17, 18-year olds. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have problems. What isn't okay, and this kind of goes at all levels, is just making the same mistakes over and over again. If you're not learning from those, then that's where you get into a bit of a struggle. So just take the opportunity to learn from your mistakes, learn from things other people do so that you can be better, and just look around and try to learn as much as you can. Use the first couple jobs that you have, especially if you're looking at a couple of entry level jobs through high school. Use them to build your skill set. Are you looking to go into leadership? Are you looking to be a strong team player and build on your skill set that you already have and develop new skills along the way? Um, Being willing to, especially in our setting, we're fast paced. It's a lot of work, but we can also have fun in our Chick-fil-A restaurant. And so, coming in and being flexible, knowing when it's time to play and when it's time to work is very important. Several of the jobs I've had, you've had that opportunity to really hang out with people that you're working with, have some fun, but you got to know when it's time to buckle down and do work, and when it's time to, maybe you can goof off a little bit. Um, but as long as you know what you're doing, you're willing to work. Work can be fun. I love what I do. I love what I did as a cop. I've loved what I've done in many of the jobs I've had. So there's a lot of opportunity there to really enjoy what you're doing. Um, right now, everybody's hiring. So if you don't have a job and you want a job, everybody's hiring. Um, we're looking for all sorts of people all the time. Lots of places you can just fill out applications online, so that you can get that in there. A couple tips though that I do want to share because we get a lot of these, and I hope to kind of set you up for success. If you interview or you're applying for a business, don't contact that business in the middle of their busy time. So what does that look like? If it's a restaurant, and their busy rush is lunchtime or dinner time or both, don't come into the restaurant. And I can speak for pretty much all Chick-fil-A's in this one. Don't come into a Chick-fil-A restaurant looking for an application, um, checking on the status of your application, checking on the status of your interview during lunch rush and dinner rush. Um, while again, it's not going to put you out of the running. It's you don't want to do anything that's going to put a bad taste in your interviewers or your new job's mouth. And so you don't want to kind of seem inconsiderate, unaware of the company. Knowing basic things like a restaurant is busy during dinner or during lunch, that's pretty basic research that you could know just by asking what type of company is it. There's other companies that don't have rushes or aren't as busy. You could go to a Best Buy or a place like that where they probably aren't as busy, except for don't go on Black Friday and ask for an interview. They're obviously not going to have time for that. So be conscious of the needs of the business you're going into, so that way you set yourself up for some success. And then I just want to reiterate finally, go over some questions, be ready to go. And, 4 or 5 questions. Again, the main three that I like are: tell me about yourself, why do you want to work here, and what do you know about this company? Those are good places to start with any job. know a little bit about the company, have good reasons for coming into work. It's okay as a kid in high school to say that you want money, um, but you also probably should follow that up with why. You know, if you need a job for money, why do you want a job? I want a job so that I can save money for college. I can go on a mission. I can buy a car without having to take out a loan. All of those things. No employer is going to be upset about that. You know, if you come in and you're, I just want money so that I can go to the movies with my friend, maybe that's not the best answer. And then finally, the big point I would say as far as tips and tricks, just be yourself and be honest. It's usually pretty easy in an interview to tell when somebody's making stuff up. So don't do that. You've got enough good stories about your life, about your experience, that you can be upfront and you can be honest. If you feel like you don't have answers to some of those basic questions, another good one is what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Take some time and look at it and come up with a response. Just a little effort is plenty to put you over the top of what most of the people are doing, especially in entry level jobs. There's resources available if you're looking at more career type jobs. I'm always available too. We can get you guys my contact information if you have any questions. My little plug again is that we are always hiring at our Chick-fil-A. You're more than invited to come in and interview. Even if you want to do practice interviews, I can probably make that happen as well. Just reach out and I'll see what I can do. I'm happy to answer any questions for you if you have them. I'll make sure my information gets passed along. And I hope that this was helpful to you in your process as you guys look for jobs. Thanks.